all this. So we'll start the recording. So now I want to mention some of our preferred partners. So some of you know some of our preferred partners on this call just from being at our events, and some of you don't. So I also know that a lot of you, probably the majority, or if not all of you, are used to being harassed by vendors constantly. I will guarantee you that will not happen here today or after. Look, full transparency, nothing what we do here with Real Producers, not in Chicago, but I think we're in like 110 markets now. Nothing what we do is possible without the support of our partners, and they're not here today to sell themselves. I asked, is somebody getting some background noise? If you're not talking, I'm getting background noise. I might have to mute someone. Okay, good. I'm sure our partners would be glad to connect with you after, just if they can help in any way. But I invited them, just as all the realtors on here are experts in their field or in the top tier of real estate, top half of 1%. So are all of our partners. So Kevin, I'm going to ask you to go first since you're the first one to hop on, and then Michelle, and then we'll go Igor if you want to speak on behalf of Gina or whoever wants to go representing Arete Renovators. But same thing, 10, 15 seconds, introduce yourself, and then we'll hop on the bulk of the call. So Kevin, my man, go for it.
Sure thing. Kevin Camden, Camden Law Office. I've been licensed for 23 years. My practice has been primarily focused on residential for the last 5, and the parent of now 3 high schoolers. I can sympathize with Jenny. They're like velociraptors. Every 40 minutes, it seems like I have to put another meal out for these kids.
Yep. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Michelle Bobart. Yes, I work with Guaranteed Rate. I have been there now, gosh, going on 11 years at GR, and I'm out of the River North, our downtown location. And I've been in mortgage lending for, I've lost track, I think about 23 years.
You lose track. It's like, another year. Igor or Gina, I'll whoever wants to speak on behalf of you, I will open the floor.
Thank you, Andy. I just want to make sure you hear me because I'm outside. Yeah?
Yeah.
So my name is Igor Jokanovic. I represent Arete Renovators. We are a family-owned business past 18 years, specializing in residential kitchen and bath. We do a lot of work in high-rises downtown Lincoln Park. We do have a showroom design center on Montrose and Pulaski as well. And Gina is part of our marketing team. I think that's how we connected with a Real Producer, and very happy to be a part of the community.
Appreciate your support, sir. So, yeah, I mean, so that is it. That is my part. I realize the more I blab and move my mouth, the less and less people are going to obtain value from this. So what I would like to do now is just any updates on, I hate to use the word market because that's just such a general term, but I think that'll just open up the dialogue, or anything that people are feeling, any systems in place that people have implemented from the lockdown from mid-March up until present that is working and not working. So Jenny, if you don't mind, I know you wear many hats in your job and everything. So if I can put you on the spot, would you mind just going first? And this is really geared toward, you can ask her questions. If anybody else has anything to chime in, feel free. Obviously, if there's a long, awkward pause and nobody's talked for a while, sometimes you got to kick people in the pants to get them to talk. But other than that, Jenny, if you wouldn't mind just sharing what your eyeballs are in the field, and I'll let you take it away.
Sure. So I think when all of this started, our first priority was really to just reach out and connect with everybody. We found a lot of folks just, they were lonely and just wanted somebody to talk to. And our job is, the relationship business, but in our normal course of, running around doing deals and showing and selling, it's been hard over the years to stay in close contact. So our focus really was in starting to reach out and talk to people. And we found that that resulted actually in getting a lot of new, clients who we hadn't talked to for a while, re-engaged, and we got a bunch of listings. But really, we connected on a human level. And I think with all of the frightening things that are going on in the world, that's been really critical. We did a direct mail campaign to our sphere that was really all about life and values that had nothing to do with selling real estate. That was very effective. Now, I think if you follow the stats since Easter, the online viewing of listings has gone up a lot. We haven't done any open houses yet, but I've started to hear that there's a lot of interest, and we're gearing up for what we think is going to be a really active summer. Having, wearing the hat of about to open an office in the North Shore, I can tell you that a lot of mine and your city clients are suddenly rethinking their lifestyle, and they're looking out there. So if you've got families with little kids, you probably want to be getting in touch with them and just checking in and seeing what they're doing and what they're thinking. Because if they are going out to the suburbs, you want to be able to be a part of that, make a referral or whatever. But so we're really focused still on core activities, talking to people, being in touch even more, than before. And, just trying to be available as people are right sizing. One thing I think is to everybody's benefit is that with the pandemic, they're not so much worried about the pension funds and the fiscal health of the state. They're much more worried about, their day-to-day living. And is the kitchen big enough? Am I going to get divorced if I'm squeezed into this small space with my husband one more day? I can't do another Zoom call with my kids in the background. So I think there's going to be a lot of people who are feeling this need to move, especially before the fall, because I think there's, worry that there's going to be a resurgence. So I don't know what you guys think, but I think it's going to be a really busy summer. What do you think?
I think is going to be as well, actually. I have a client that I met pre-virus that was saying, I want a 2-bedroom, that's it. Now he sent me an email, hibernation's over, let's get looking. And
Yeah.
exactly what you said, Jenny, is my life has changed. Now my office is not going to be in an office anymore. I'm going to be working from home. So now I need a 3-bedroom. So the mentality over the last couple of months has changed as far as not necessarily people moving to the suburbs, but just more what life's going to look like in a condo for them. So
Sure. Or the people who say, I don't want to be in an elevator building anymore, or, that kind of stuff. You think about the people who are in rental buildings in those little micro apartments, and they went in there thinking, I can go to the fire pit and the office lounge and the coffee bar and the blah, blah, blah. And then all that's been shut down. Those are great candidates to buy now. But I think we're really focused on, being there to help service, people as they right size. And my long-term, prognosis is one of concern as the economic effects kick in as we get closer to an election. So that's why we're really focused on hitting the ground running now while people are, it's summer, they're starting to feel good as things open up. And I think we've got a window, but I don't think it's an all year window. I think it's a, maybe like 3 months. Hopefully more, but I'm trying to do my business planning around that.
I think one thing that we are seeing too, along with COVID, is that in addition to people wanting larger space inside the unit for their office, they want their own private outdoor space. So that we're really trying to push any of the buildings that have balconies or outdoor patios, that people really are much more going to be appreciating that now more than they did, a few months ago or last year or in the past. So,
Gail, that's a great point. One of the things that we've been doing with our listings is we've actually been going in and changing the photo order in the MLS, and we've been moving our outdoor space up to the front. So we'll show you the front of a building, then we'll show you the outdoor space, then we'll go inside. We've also been rewriting a lot of our marketing copy and our MLS remarks to start to talk about today's lifestyle. If you look at some of my MLS remarks from before COVID, talks about, purpose for entertaining. Well, nobody's entertaining now. So, it's really thinking differently about how you present a home and presenting it for what we've just been through, sheltering in place with 3 boys and having to have everybody be able to do their school and all that was really, it's complicated. And those are the kinds of things you want to be able to show, like, if a home has got that flexibility, because there's a lot of folks who are thinking, my college age kids may be back in the fall. And so it's really, just adjusting so that you're speaking the language that matters today.
Everybody else's thoughts are too on just prepping stuff for more space.
I agree.
Nobody's called to say they want to downsize, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Go ahead. What were you gonna say, John?
Oh, no, I just to piggyback off like Jenny, Nick, and Gail's comments, like living in a high-rise apartment building with all amenities being shut down, a lot of our clients are making outdoor space a priority now. That's like a deal breaker. They must have it. Just preparing if we come back into a quarantine in fall, and definitely looking for more space. And I really like what Jenny said about listings, and I think that's great. Kind of, making your description kind of more geared towards what's going on in the world today, as opposed to just trying to market the property as we would. I think I put up a listing today that I said perfect for entertaining. I should probably switch that, but yeah, I think that was a really good point. Just kind of trying to relate with people with what's going on today rather than what we used to do.
Yeah, I think I can add to that as well. We've been shifting our marketing strategy towards more exterior projects, whether it's decking, roofing, siding, and obviously lately past week has been just boarding up the businesses, exteriors. So with that said, I think there's much to say. I mean, Gina can add it a little bit more, but I think people are very receptive to that message.
Yeah, to piggyback off Igor, those people are nervous with interior work. We have seen them focusing a lot more on renovating their deck, adding pergola, having the outdoor space to hang out in. Question for all of you, as people are looking for new spaces, have you seen that they are gearing more towards ready to move in, or they're now more interested in customizing the space to fit their life for the next 5-10 years?
I think we've got a generational problem with that, where people still don't, time is a precious commodity and they don't really want to do work. And I'm not sure that that's changed with COVID. If anything, probably the other way around, where they'd rather not have to go through that and get people in, and they'd rather just find something turnkey. But I've also noticed, like, I have a house in Lakeview, West Lakeview, with a side yard that got no showings for a long time. And now I'm getting a ton of them because suddenly everybody wants the outdoor space. And they don't even care about the house. They just care about the outdoor space. I also have 2 listings in the North Shore with swimming pools. And it's the same thing. Everybody wants the pool. They don't care about the house. So perhaps they're willing to buy it and then go in later and worry about that. But right now their focus, especially as they've canceled their summer travel, kids' camps are closed. Like, they don't, suddenly they're standing there saying, like, oh my gosh, like, what are we gonna do? Finding homes that have great outdoor space will trump, I think, what the interior condition is. I don't know, Leigh, are you seeing that too? Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate about the outdoor space. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it matters.
I find it just so fascinating how within 2 months, our real estate industry can just flip-flop so much to be from all these amazing amenities that everybody wants in small spaces to being totally the opposite because of, one thing that happened. It's just so interesting and, really pretty fascinating how things change. Someday when we look back at this and we think about how, sometimes I think of the 80s and the 90s and the architecture and how kitchens were closed in, bathrooms were smaller, bedrooms were larger, living rooms were larger. Then in about 1999, when all of a sudden the great room concept came into play and you're like, oh my God, that's the greatest thing that, layout. And then everything is that. And so just watching these trends and someday looking back through the years going, wow, how thinking changed due to that at that point in time. And to think we're all here at this point in time, watching, assimilating, you know, making our changes. I mean, it's that to how we're marketing with all the video. I get requests for video all the time on the smallest little units where they don't want all the virtual, you know, virtual tours and beautiful photos. They're like, I want to just an amateur video. I want you to walk through it and just do, you know, and to be able to use that for your marketing and being, that's what people want more than all the gorgeous photos sometimes. That to me is like so interesting. And doing virtual open houses where some of that, you know, we always did all our open houses constantly every weekend, and now getting a number of people to get used to virtual open houses and log on, and then watching that, how that will continue in the future, where they can sit at their computer and they can go through all these, you know, these virtual open houses, and then decide to come out instead of running around the neighborhoods and running around the buildings trying to catch different, you know, different properties. So we'll see how much that continues in the future, but it's been really interesting, all the activity we've gotten on the virtual open houses. So I always like doing the regular open houses because I love meeting people, but it's been interesting how much visibility we've been able to still acquire and take advantage of through the virtuals. So really, I just find it all, again, so fascinating after watching this year, you know, year in and year out and all the cycles we go through.
I think as a follow-up to kind of what Gail is saying, I feel like, yes, COVID has been devastating to like the world in so many ways, but on our industry, I actually think it's a really good thing with controlling buyers, because they're understanding that they can't go see as many places in person anymore, and they're being way more picky about like, okay, let's verify all the information about this condo before we go request a showing for it and make sure that it's a really, really strong contender. And I think like as somebody who represents mostly first-time buyers, it's streamlined like the process a lot more and just freed up more of my time and my broker's time, because instead of like going on all these silly showings where we know that the place doesn't check all their boxes, we're saying up front, like at the consultation, like, hey, if you're going to be going to see a property, we want you to look at the virtual tour, every picture, the info sheet, sign and see the disclosures, like see everything that there is to see about this place before you go see it. And it just has been working really well. So now I feel like we're doing fewer showings and then still writing like the same amount of offers, I guess, if that makes sense. But it's really been I think a time saver.
And I think as well, just for on the agent perspective side, think about us running around from coffee shop to meet clients. Now it's a lot of this. So we can time block a lot easier. We can make our schedules a lot better. Our days can run somewhat smoother. So I think it's been just great all around, general agent and client side completely.
Curious your thoughts on the lending side. Would you kind of attest to I mean, you talk to a lot of realtors. I know you work with a lot of top agents. So would you kind of confirm everything that everybody else is saying, or has it made your life easier? Like, I'm just curious your thoughts on everything.
Did you say me? You said lending.
Michelle Bobart.
You said
on
lending.
The hot seat.
I thought you said Gary or something, so sorry. Yeah, no, I echo everything everyone's been saying, specifically from a time efficiency. You know, I'm a glass half full girl, and I've literally kept a notebook. Yeah, this has been an incredibly challenging season for our city, for our country, but there have been, I call it my COVID blessing sheet, because I would say time efficiency is probably one of the biggest things. There's a lot of things that my company's been pushing for with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac for a long time. And I mean, we were like forced in, and I mean, we got stuff done in lightning speed. I mean, just like them approving, external only appraisals and just so much stuff that we could have never pushed through before, like e-closings, e-sign, e-recording. So just it's really gonna just enhance our efficiencies overall in our systems, our processes. And yeah, and I'm hearing that a ton from realtors. Some clients will run you ragged, and what I'm seeing, I echo, like I felt like I personally know that I had the strongest Q1 that I have had in a decade. I mean, it was a really strong Q1, and then we were teed up. It was unbelievable amount of pre-approvals I had jumping off of Super Bowl, like just ready for a strong, robust spring market. And so, what I have seen is the pause button did get hit, obviously with shelter in place, but I have just seen an incredible momentum coming back out. And and I think the biggest thing is just we're meeting folks where they are. More than ever, I'm, listening 90% of the time and talking 10% of the time, because everyone is engaging this process differently. Younger folks, obviously, they're like, COVID schmovid, I'm out, like, I need to move, and they're just gangbusters, give me some booties, whatever, I'll wear my mask, and then others are a little bit more cautious. But I think, echoing what everyone's been saying, like, we have such a privilege, like, to be doing what we're doing right now, because we are managing people's homes, and their life transition, and it's a really big deal. So, it's been great. Like, and I've seen, like, people are making decisions quicker. The folks, like, Melanie was saying, like, the first time home buyer that'll want to see 100 homes, I'm not, I'll customize every pre-approval I send out to the property. And I'm like, I'm not sending out many pre-approvals for 10 for one person. It's like, they're looking, they're making an offer. I mean, it's going under contract. So I think there's a sense of urgency. People want to transition their families this summer because there is that fear of a resurgence with COVID, and they want to be hunkered down and, in their new space. I think, like I said, I mean, our America 2.0 is like, we are all reevaluating how we do life, so if mom and dad are both at home, the kids are at home, I mean, they're really thinking that through hard. And I also think there's a tremendous opportunity. We have, all these high-rise luxury rental high-rises right now. And, those luxury, what do they sell? They sell the really cool community amenities, right? And it's not so fabulous in a 600 square foot, one bedroom when you can't use any of the fun amenities. So I think those people are being, pushed out and looking at actually buying. And then lastly, what I would say is my younger families that, really wanted to stay in the city longer because they love the city. I'm seeing that transition happen earlier. Like, usually they're like, the kids, the oldest is 5, and then they're like starting to look at, thinking schools and everything. And now it's earlier, just because, again, that private outdoor space, they want to have control where someone can't say you can't go. I live, my backyard's the lakefront, and I haven't been able to go out there. So I think I'm seeing that. And I'm also seeing more burbs, more transitions of burbs. I'm even seeing Northwest Indiana folks going that way. So that's kind of what I'm seeing on my plate. But I think we're going to have an incredible summer.
Michelle, what about getting loans? It feels like for some of our clients, we're seeing the criteria moving around. We had a big problem getting a co-op loan a couple of weeks ago because everybody stopped doing co-op loans, and we're finding that the criteria for jumbo loans is changing. What about, I mean, I know people want to buy, but what about accessibility to money?
Sure. So there's obviously, we've got 2 buckets, right? We've got our Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac folks, and then we've got our jumbo folks. And so Fannie and Freddie, I think, once again, like, I'm really happy they came behind this whole process because they rolled out forbearance without thinking that through, because forbearance equals hardship, and then no one had a barrier to entry, so everyone was doing it. And so it's like, great. The old Fannie guidelines say you have to sit out on the sidelines for 3 years if you've had a forbearance. So they cleaned that up very quickly. So I would say for anything 5, 10, 400 under, which is the Fannie, that's operating business as usual. Yes, do I have a couple extra checks on the back end right before closing? I've got to make sure they still got their job, and we have a couple extra due diligence steps. that feels very business as usual. Jumbo, we are still getting them done. I do know, for me, there's been a big opportunity. I mean, I'm getting a lot of the 911 calls from the big banks, that because they really heightened those restrictions. My company, I can only speak for us. Like, we've got a lot of portfolio channels, credit unions. We've still got one of our investors we've had for years that still do 10% down on a jumbo purchase. So it's there. You can. Whereas the big banks, you're definitely at like that 700, 720 score. We've still got some channels for lower credit scores for jumbo, but people are going to pay for it in the rate, So it's just, the conversations I'm having is we're doing a Band-Aid loan. We're going to get you in your home. We're going to fix up your credit, and we're going to, we're a low closing cost state in Illinois. We'll refi in 6 to 12 months when your scores pop above, 700. So answering, yes, is there a little bit more, the jumbo investors, for most of them, they've tightened, and they're now at a 20% down. The big banks are at 20% down. We still got that 10%. What has been a blessing is prime interest rate, which is tied to the home equity lines. That's come down dramatically. So it's 3.25. So what I'm doing for the folks that are just on the edge, like, let's call it a $600,000 purchase price and don't want to put a lot of money down, then we're doing the piggyback loans. The old days, for those of us who've been in the business for a long time, we're pairing a 510 400 with a $50,000 HELOC and keeping them out of jumbo, because even that blended rate that they're paying between the two is still coming out in the low threes. So, just again, people buy payment, right? So, with the rates at historic lows, I think it's really, that's a big benefit for you all. Like, we're able to put more people in homes, even if you're taking them up a notch. Their payment isn't necessarily, going to be changing that much, except for property taxes. We don't control that, but
that's a different animal.
Different animal.
You've seen, man, you've been kind of quiet, sir, on the attorney side. How are closings for you? More streamlined, or did you freeze up? Oh, there. I think you muted yourself. Ready to hear me?
When he does answer, it'd be interesting to know if
awesome.
he sees these e-closings and these drive-by closings continuing more in the future, or if he thinks we'll be going back to what we did in the past.
Yeah, I think he froze up. Maybe he'll hop. He froze up. He'll hop back on. No, this is cool. Michelle, I'm curious. So you mentioned you have a what is it? A COVID blessing list? What's like your top 3 things on that? I'm just curious. So you got people asking for more space. What are some of the other things on there? That's interesting. That's super cool.
Yeah, no, definitely the industry stuff that we've been pushing for a long time. Just an opportunity. Like, I do think, people, we're all wired for connection, like I'm a hugger, and I haven't been able to, it's hard. It's been a hard time, but at the same time, I think, and look, I would probably get an F for technology. It's pushed me. It has pushed me, into this. I mean, I'm doing a lot more client consultations this way. It's giving me more freedom and flexibility. I don't have to be in my office all the time. And just, I just think overall time efficiencies, just really an opportunity to my team has rallied so well in this process. And, I do feel, just personally, my company did make some strategic, just really smart decisions about our digital mortgage, so it really, my pivot into this time was relatively painless. So that for me is just, me speaking personally, that's really been huge. And just like you said, like Jenny said, my emphasis has really just been reaching out to my database, and I get to do refis, right? I get to save people money. People need to save money right now, and so that's a blessing. That's a privilege, just to be able to support them in that, and and just make a difference. So And I think that's really it. And just an opportunity to shine in dark times, you know, and just be a hope bringer to folks. And you can just tell sometimes, like, you know, it's like you need to give some clients a virtual hug. Like they're ready to like lose their mind. They're like, you know, I'm like, oh my God, how am I, like, these poor people are like in 800 square feet with 3 kids, you know, like how are they managing? So.
I actually just went through the mortgage process myself personally. So with Guaranteed Rate actually. So it was interesting to see that side of it during this time that we're in. I mean, it was nice, right? You sign all the paperwork like two days or a day before. You get to the closing and you're just there with just the important people that are supposed to be there. And then I just signed a couple of the documents that need to be signed and we were in and out of there in like, call it 35, 40 minutes. So those are a lot quicker now, obviously, because pre-signing documents the day before. What are they calling them?
We call it flash close because docu-signing half of it. Yeah, I laugh because there's so many things that, like, you know, like nonchalantly we're saying like, yeah, we're going to do a drive-by closing. And I'm like, what? Drive-by, you know, I have to catch myself. I'm like, what in the world, you know? So Kevin, you're back on. The question that everybody asked you was, do you see our drive-by closings continue? And how's it been for you as an attorney? Like,
you know, I'm probably in the minority here. On the sell side, I think we've been moving towards sellers not attending for a number of years now. And I think this will just accelerate the curve where everything will be pre-signed for any number of reasons, not the least of which is, and I don't make any pretense about it, if my my sellers aren't there, I can do other things while we're waiting for funding and everything else versus entertaining. And sellers don't want to sit for an hour and a half, 2 hours for no good reason. On the buy side, I don't want to be a wet blanket, but I'm not quite as optimistic. My experience has been that, much like Michelle is saying, I think particularly real estate lawyers, we've been very privileged professionally to be able to work. I have a lot of friends that are litigators that for the last 3 months really have done nothing because the court shut down. And I want to be at the table. I want to be there for my clients because I think the value of explaining everything is at the closing. I've been very hesitant to review the documents before the day before with clients. I will not do the curbside closings. I'm either in the room with them or I really just am in the room with them. Now I'm focusing specifically on first-time buyers, folks that have bought and sold before. You know, it's a no-brainer. They're happy to run through the package, but presently I seem to have a lot of first-timers, and they want, much like Michelle is saying, not so much the virtual hug, but I can explain a 4506 until I'm blue in the face. I can explain the COA forms the day before. Nobody's going to remember what that means the morning of closing. And I'm very concerned that when we're not at the table, some folks that are unscrupulous are going to take an opportunity to ice the attorneys out, which I don't think is good for anybody long term. I think it's going to create additional problems that folks haven't necessarily taken a hard look at. I was encouraged to hear Michelle saying our closing costs are lower in Illinois than other places. And I would tend to agree. I've looked at Indiana, I've looked at Wisconsin, and even if you factor in the nominal attorney fees, I don't think we're pricing ourselves out of the market by any means. On the upside, I do think we're streamlining things, which frankly, we should have been doing for a long time. You know, how many, as I tell my clients when we're going through the package, how many documents do we wet sign where it's the paper catch up? You know, in other words, you've signed all the tax releases, you've signed everything, and yet we're putting wet signatures on them again. Until certain things change in Illinois, I understand wet signatures on deeds, on mortgages, on notes, but a lot of the stuff we're signing could easily be dispensed with through flash closings or whatever you would like to refer to it as. And sorry for my absence. I think I've got weather-related connectivity issues out here in DuPage County.
I think a lot of us have.
Go ahead. I was like, right when I asked you the question, you cut out and your face was frozen. So go.
Never fails.
Go ahead, Michelle. That's right.
Yeah, so coming out of it, I do agree, like the first-time home buyers, I think there's such value in sitting with them and making them feel safe. But, you know, a lot of us have our move-up home buyers and just professional investors, right? So I do think that's where we're going to enjoy that technology because, you know, Kevin, you'll have clients that are like, yeah, I know it. You know what I mean? Like, and they'll want to get you through the package where they've got moving trucks out, you know, and they want to move. So I do think that part is good, but.
The investor point is well taken. I've got it will be an email closing. It's a cash deal on Friday. And while we used to do those, the normalcy, I guess, or the fact that they're becoming more routine is much more out there. You know, auction homes, clear investment properties, people, the buy side, the folks that do it day in and day out, they're more than happy to say, sure, you do it all via email and just send me the docs. We don't really need to be there. And I think we'll see much more efficiencies gained in those areas too.
Yes, and this is just in general for everybody. And Igor and Gina, I obviously want to get your thoughts being on the renovation side. What is maybe something that December, January, February that was humming along for you, that was maybe a system in place that you had that was working really well? And then now something maybe you tried during pandemic that you're like, hey, this would be a great idea, and now that's not working. And what system has flourished or has come out of this that you're implementing that seems to be going in the right direction that will make life easier for rest of 20 and 2021 and years to come?
Well, I can tell you that Q1 for us has been tremendous. It's been unbelievable. And we kind of got nervous because we were like, okay, what's going on, right? Part of it was like fear of recession. You know, everybody's talking about, yeah, the economy is kind of slowing down. And so we didn't know what to expect, but I know we were so busy in March. And like everybody said, you know, it's just like complete stop for us. Was we couldn't get inside the high-rise buildings. We couldn't finish our work. So it was really just past 3 months was kind of like, how do we survive? You know, so part of it was really just looking at business loans, business options to try to keep the team that we have created past, you know, years. Which we have a tremendous team. We have 14 people in our team, comprised of project managers to coordinators to designers to you know, accountants. So we wanted to keep everybody part of the team, even though it meant cutting the hours and going part-time. So what we have been trying to do on marketing side, and Gina has been actually, in the same time, she brought a new life to birth. So she was out for March, April, and June. So part of the marketing was really stop and just being out there in terms of social media. So we've been doing a lot of Instagram, Facebooks, just from past projects, and just to try to keep it out there, be in front of the previous clients to tell them, hey, we are here, we exist. You know, we still fighting. We're trying to keep it above the water. And I think what's catching up right now, it's all the work that we had done in the past 3 months, and people just want to restart. They're calling up, you know, starting to schedule their jobs. So that's been beneficial for us. Not to mention, like I said earlier, for the outside work that we've been blessed to be capable of performing as well. We have subs that can perform roofing, decking, and siding. So a lot of those subs from interiors have shifted to exterior work, and that has helped us move forward. I know Gina can mention probably a couple more things that we've been doing right now on marketing side as well, especially with the folks like you, realtors, where they've been helping us out, gain some knowledge that they've been created throughout the years, and in terms of blogs and postings and those kind of things, and newsletters that are going out to the buildings.
Yeah, in addition to what Igor said, I mean, I would say beginning of the year last year, majority of estimates we would do would always be in person, so we could physically see the space. And it's obviously shifted as people are nervous having anyone in their home. So we've done a lot of video calls with clients, with their realtors, giving me a visual walkthrough of the space to put together rough estimates. And we've been relying a lot more on photos and floor plans than we have before. Also, I know, Jenny, you had mentioned this, is bringing back the human interaction with a lot of our prior clients and connections, and really reaching out to see how they're genuinely doing, which has led to a lot of business for us through chambers of commerce and vendors we work with, like our glass guy. We not intentionally have gained a lot of business just by checking in. We've been pushing newsletters, giving updates on COVID, what we're doing to make people more comfortable with us being in their home. Yeah, it's been a shift. It's been interesting, but it is a test, and so far has worked out well.
He's doing for marketing. I mean, as far as like during this time or the past couple months, because I think Jenny, you alluded to it earlier. You're like, yeah, just checking in with people, and like you said, Michelle, sometimes people just need a virtual hug, or somebody said that. So I'm just curious what everybody else is doing just to sort of get creative.
I can share. So I basically get like 90% of my business from first-time buyer classes, and they've always been in person, but in March we had one scheduled for like mid-March, and then we had to really quickly like call an audible and figure out another way to do the class. So we switched it to a webinar, and the webinars have been working so well. I don't think I ever want to do an in-person class again. We're getting like double the sign and I can do it from home. So it's just like, it's far easier. And yeah, I think that the consumer, they like it more too, because they don't get dragged out to like a WeWork office downtown. They can just watch from home as well. And the personal connection, like the in real life connection, is awesome and can't replace it. But I think for purposes of like educating someone, a webinar works really well. So that's one, I guess, blessing that's come out of this, is just seeing like the shift and seeing how the webinar works.
I mean, I think the videos in general is kind of surprising, because people are putting a lot of trust. A lot of your clients are putting a lot of trust in you with doing, just like Gail said, just walking around personally with your phone. So it's kind of crazy how before they were like, they really want to see the place in person. Now they trust the phone, they trust the video. And it's kind of interesting how that's changed like that. So it's pretty cool.
Could I ask the guys who do a lot of rentals? It's just been so unique, this spring market or spring summer market, our June, July, August leases, that we have so few people out looking, and so many it feels like so many people have just renewed and stayed put. That's just what it feels like from my chair. But I'd love to hear what you guys have experiencing in the rental world.
Hey, Gail, how are you? Hold on, can you guys hear me? Yeah. With rentals, I've had a lot of buyers that have considered renting, so I know it's been a little challenging. And I remember, you know, what's kind of odd is that how many realtors pre-COVID didn't even have virtual tours ever? I'm not saying for a rental, but just general for a listing. And they're all scrambling last minute to now do, like, ask their tenant to do one. So that was very surprising to see how many people don't do a good job for their clients, whether they're selling or renting, whether it be with professional photos, floor plans, virtual tours, what have you not. Secondly, with the renters, you know, a lot of my clients are buyers, but they have thought about renting and putting it off. And it's been challenging because a lot of places are tenant occupied. And I've had a lot of people that I've taken out, and they were just frustrated with the process, and they just decided to just re-sign their lease. So I think there's going to be a little bit of additional inventory on the rental side, especially with condos and all these amenity buildings, where, you know, some people are just going to take the easy way out and just stay put and not go out and look. And of course, if we had more brokers who did a better job with those virtual tours, I think it would make it easier for us to secure some more leases.
It's just interesting seeing buildings offering 2 months free rent, 150% commissions. That's only something they ever did in like December, January, and February. And now you're like, oh my gosh, they're doing that in June. It's like, eek, what's happening to even our rental market? So that I just curious how you guys who do a lot, might be doing more rentals, or what you hear. I know Fulton Grace does quite a few. So what you might hear from some of your people too, just on, why is it, I mean, are they all just not moving, or are they moving out of the city, or, that some of these rental buildings have this occupancy and are giving such great deals, which, hurts our condo rentals then too.
Nick may be able to answer that. He started with rentals his whole career in the beginning and has seen the shift. So,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, is it uncertainty with their jobs? Are they just comfort level where they're at now? Why go through another application process and all that kind of stuff? I'm already in a place. Like, I don't know what's going on. So maybe that's the reason. I don't know, but these buildings are offering a lot of crazy special. And Gail, you probably get the hot sheets, obviously, from Streeterville, obviously all day long with the 1 month free, 150% commission stuff. So I don't know what the occupancy rates are, but I've talked to some rental buildings, and they were fairly busy with the video tours during this time. So I think they were just doing anything just to kind of stay afloat or just get people in through the door. Kind of like I said, during the winter time when it's slower, I guess they use this as like the winter season, I guess, since everything's been kind of prolonged or pushed back. That would be my only guess or reasoning for it.
In my head.
What'd you say, Andy? Sorry, I didn't hear.
I said I'm counting to like 20 in my head. That's usually what I count for, like awkward pause. No, is anybody just open forum? Does anybody have any questions for anybody else? What's working? What's not working? We can wrap up. I blocked off an hour. I have a hard stop at like 3:10, but I hope everybody got something they can glean from somebody else. And
can I ask a question, Andy, to anybody, maybe Leigh or Jenny? I know you guys may be more, and Gail, I think you guys are not all listing heavy, but how are you guys combating, obviously, with sellers? They understand what's going on. Are you just doing more price drops, just keeping things on there longer? Or what are you trying to do differently to push your place to go under contract, basically?
I'll jump in with that. So if you looked, I have a lot of listings, about $100 million in listings right now, ranging from like a parking space to $12 million. So got the full spectrum. I've got some clients who are like, don't talk to me, don't come near my house. I don't ever want to hear from you until there's like a cure. And then I've got other clients who are calling me every week saying, what are you doing to sell my house? Like, yeah. So we've got this whole range of expectations, and I found that there's no one size fits all. It's much easier selling listings under $1 million. As somebody said earlier in this call, the younger people say, what virus? Rates are low and they're out buying. They're getting out of rentals is what I'm seeing, because they want their own home. They want a little more space, but I'm finding the higher end inventory has been harder to show because the people who would be our buyers could afford to stay home and shelter in place and have other people go out and do their errands and that, deliver their groceries and stuff. So the wealthy people haven't been looking. Our clients who own those homes, if they're vacant, are totally fine with us being in. If they're not vacant, I think depending on why they're moving, they're still anxious and they're working with us. So I've had virtual listing appointments, but I've had a lot of in-person listing appointments during this. Most of the time wearing masks, not always, not everybody feels that way. And I feel like people are, they're really appreciative of the fact that we're out working. They empathize with the fact that we're doing what we can. They want to know what we're doing, but they also know it's kind of a harder time we've had some pretty significant price drops, and in some cases that's triggered a sale, in some cases it hasn't done a thing. But at the bottom line, I think no matter what, our responsibility is to over communicate way more than before. Here's what's going on, here's what we're seeing. You know, nobody called, but we had 1,000 looks online in the last week and a half. You know, that's a positive sign. That's up from earlier this month. It's like walking them through so they feel like we're engaged, because we all know silence is deadly. And when you're not, like, if it's COVID and you're scared and you're not getting showings and you don't call them, like, for every time you don't call them, you know, they're thinking about you not calling 20 times. So that's kind of my sense of it.
What about on like the prospecting side? Because obviously you have relationships with these people, so it's easier to call them. But what about on the prospecting of listings? Like during this time when people are like, the world's gonna end, why would I sell my place right now? What was like, we don't do that much. I'm not really listing heavy. I mean, John's got a few listings right now, but we don't. What was your experience, or how was that like, or how has it gone over the course of the last 3 months or so?
I don't do cold calls.
Okay.
So when I'm making calls, oftentimes it's the people who I might have interviewed before and they chose not to list, or it wasn't a good time. You know, I'm calling people that I had rented. One thing I found is I had homes that I rented and I know their lease isn't until out in the future, but I'm calling them anyway, because in many cases they're saying, oh, you know, all my tenants left and moved home, or they lost their jobs, or, you know, things that we put under rental are suddenly becoming potentially available to sell. And so it's really, for me, I'm fortunate I have enough of a business that I'm not really looking to find new people as much as re-engage with people who, you know, I might have already had some point of contact over the years.
Cool.
I would say I'm still doing mailings, which in my neighborhood still kind of, you know, gives you some good visibility. So that always helps. I've had more people contact me, and granted, they are like Jenny, they are people that I kind of know as part of the neighborhood. But they're like, oh my gosh, with everything going on, you know, I want to sell. So I've got quite a few listings right now, but it's a lot of people that want to get out of Illinois.
Yeah.
Because it's more they're in town. You know, people have to live somewhere if they're working here. But if it's just an in town for them, and then they see the destruction from, you know, last weekend, the protests, besides the whole COVID, they're like, I'm done, you know. So they're like, get it sold. I tell them where the values are. They're like, oh my gosh, that's not, you know, I want more than that. And then a few days later, they come back and say, just get it on the market. So, you know, there's a group of people that, you know, that's kind of their mentality, or kind of their direction.
Did you have to change your message, like on some of your direct mailing during, like, call it end of March till whenever, when everybody was kind of doing the toilet paper craze? Everybody was freaking out.
And I didn't, well, it's more just even kind of just listed to just, you know, just sold. I haven't done, you know, a lot of outside of those kind of things, except for email blasts, which then are very different kind of messaging as well. You know, kind of like Jenny said, you're there for them, you know, it's, so just more of that than trying to push any kind of, you know, list your place.
Yeah.
Not like try to scare them out of, you know, scare them to sell. I don't want that. I always like it when they stay here as neighbors. It's not my goal to have them leave, but I'm happy to help, you know, whatever they need. So.
Sure. Cool. Thank you.
I think one quick thing about leads and prospecting, one is make no assumptions, because, you know, like I typically, if they talk to someone, they're like, yeah, we decided we're going to rent. And you like do the, like, I'm going to check in with them in a year, or, you know, 4 to 6 months before they're saying they're going to be ready to do it. Like, make no assumptions anymore, right? So do check in with them, like, hey, you know, just how are you, right? And then just like get them talking, because all of a sudden they may, you know, that again, everyone has reevaluated their life. And then secondly, one of the things that I've personally done is I've just gone and picked up 30 different states so that I can literally follow my clients. So as Gail said, a lot of folks are either buying second homes so they could, because they're not taking, like, they might say, like, we're not taking the vacations we used to. So having a network where because you guys can, I'm not allowed to get a referral fee, but you are. So, networking with other folks around the country, other realtors, if you can, just to get referral fees. It's just another way to get residual income. Just an idea.
I mean, I think that's a good stopping point. I want to be respectful, obviously, of everybody's time. But if anybody's interested in doing another one of these, maybe like in July, obviously we could do a different group. I am happy. Just shoot me an email. I'll send the recording of this, and if you guys want to use it for social media, I do have one thing I want to show you that is on the pipeline for us. We got pitched this end of December, and I'm like, yeah, great idea. Not going to happen this year. And then COVID happened, so I've been using my at home time, which I guess you could make the argument that is ideally that would be productive, but with 4 kids running around, sometimes it's not as productive. I didn't even mean that to be funny, but I guess it kind of was. But check this out. So I'm going to screen share this. We have a Real Producers app that is going to be launching, God willing. We just have to get all the back issues uploaded and everything. That's the challenge for us. So check this out. Little peek behind the curtain right there. Everybody see that? So we're in the process of uploading all the past issues. So we're still going to feature the top 500 agents. We're still going to invite the top 500 agents to the in-person events whenever they resume. And then, we're still going to do these collab sessions with those. But this way, everybody in the market will have access to it. And we're still going to only obviously give the top 500 agents in the city the hard copy. But anybody can download the app. So one of the challenges is we had to figure out a way to still make the platform exclusive to the upper echelon of realtors, but still give our partners more value. So it's just something, if you get a notification, that's the app. You'll have access to all the back issues. I'm excited. It's pumped, no extra cost. But that's what's going on. So we will end with that, and I'll send the recording. I'll upload this and send the recording out. But if you're interested in doing another one of these, maybe in July or August, shoot me an email and we'll get you set up. Cool.
Cool.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye,
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Bye.
Good luck.
Bye.
Good week.
Have
Thanks,
a
everybody.
productive day. Yeah, have a productive day, everyone. Thanks for joining.
You guys, thank you.
Bye.